Hey everybody, this is TotalGamerJunkie. I want to welcome you all back to my channel. So, if you remember yesterday, I made a video about how would Life is Strange 1 have changed if Max and Chloe met earlier. So, this is part 2 to that video, and I also want to apologize. I haven't been really commenting on videos lately. I've just been busy with work and at the and my courses, which is at a bakery. But I'm gonna respond to those after this video, so you should get responses to them. I got like a lot of videos I have to respond to. I'm not ignoring you. I've just been busy. I've been neglecting. Well, not neglecting, but you know. But anyways, let's get this video started. So this is how I pictured the story playing out if Max had met Chloe sooner. So it would play out the same, I assume. She would have that vision of the tornado or the storm, the hurricane or whatever it is that's, because I always get those mixed up. Hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, they're kind of the same thing, really. They're not the same, but they're similar. So I'm just like, these are just the same thing, just with fancier titles. So anyways, after Max has her vision of the storm, she'd wake up in class. Now, this version of Max, since she's been hanging out with Chloe, she would have a different personality entirely. She wouldn't be as shy and non-confrontational as she is in the beginning of the episode. In fact, what she would be now is more confident, and she'd be more assertive if people are giving her crap, mainly Victoria Chase. So, because of this, since she's not afraid to stand up to Victoria, that adds more tension to their relationship than originally in the game. And when I say relationship, you know what I mean, the hate that Victoria has for Max, because let's face it, she's secretly jealous of Max for getting Jefferson's attention. Now, when this starts off and Jefferson dismisses the class, I assume that Max would hand in her Everyday Heroes contest photo, because as you all know, she didn't do it in the game, but she does in episode 5 as a way to not to get him arrested, but she just handed in her Everyday Photos contest. But before she did that, she messaged David about Jefferson. So anyways, so after class, she hands in her Everyday Heroes photo, and she leaves. Now, I assume at this point, she'd go to the bathroom. Now, when she went to the bathroom originally, she saw the butterfly, and she took a photo of it. This one would be similar to that. So she takes a photo of the butterfly. Now, when Nathan comes in, and he's trying to talk to himself, trying to calm himself down, it's like, you can do this, you're the man. Chloe would come in. Now, sorry about that. Now, at this point, because Max and Chloe's friendship has gotten back on track, well, not friendship, in this scenario, they're a couple, because, it's like, it's Pricefield, okay? You cannot have Life is Strange without Pricefield. Anyway, so when Nathan pulls out the gun, I imagine Max stepping out and trying to help in a way, like telling Nathan to stop, and when Nathan would turn to face Max, Chloe would push him or knee him in the nuts like she does, and this would cause the gun to fire off. Now, I know when she knees him in the nuts, that's how she's able to escape after Max lets off the alarm. But in this case, both scenarios would play out similarly. It would cause Max to rewind time back to Jefferson's class, and she'd be freaking out. So what would happen is, after class ends and then she has to talk to Jefferson, I assume that she would be in too much of a rush to hand in her Everyday Heroes contest photo. Now, instead of going to the bathroom, I imagine that she would meet up with Chloe. And Chloe would be telling Max something along the lines, Max, I need to do this. Because in this version with Chloe, she wants cash not to leave Arcadia Bay, but she wants it to pay off Frank, because with Max being back in Arcadia Bay now and them being a couple, Chloe has more of a reason to stay. So Max I know she wouldn't like try to explain her power right away because she still thinks she's crazy herself. So she tore Chloe down, telling her that they can do this another time because Max would be in on it too because she wouldn't want Chloe to get hurt. You know what I mean? She doesn't want Frank to hurt her. So okay, so after this, Max and Chloe decide to spend the day together, and it plays off differently to how it would after Max leaves the dorms. Well, not the dorms, after Max leaves the bathroom, and this is when you tell Principal Wells about Nathan Prescott and the gun. So once she leaves the building, things play off differently here. At least they do in my mind. So rather than Max going to her dorms to get the flash drive for Warren and then helping Juliet Watson and what's her name? I forget the other one's name. When they're having the fight about Zach, after Max solves that problem, then she ends up returning the USB to Warren. Then that's when Nathan comes and Max realizes the blue-headed girl she saved was Chloe. So that doesn't happen. In this version, Max goes with Chloe, and they go back to her house. And at this point it plays off why can't I say that word? Plays off similar to how it did when Max when Max visited Chloe's house. So what they'd be doing is they'd be listening, they'd be talking, having fun, and I assume at this point, because I can see the joint scenario, you know, where David comes in and he's got the shits. The joint here, I believe, would be different. Instead of Chloe smoking and then trying to hide the evidence from David, what I see happening here is Chloe offering Max like a joint. She's like, do you want to try and smoke this? And I assume that Max would, well, sorry about that. If this were a game, it would depend on what you say, but let's say in this scenario Max says yes, and she tries to join. So at this point, like David, when he's like, he would come home later on, he'd be like, Chloe, turn off that punk music, and basically he ends up coming up to the room, but rather than announce himself like he did in the game, he just barges in. And it's at this point he'd see Max with the joint, and he'd be getting the shits, and he'd be like, I don't like drug addicts in my house, and so he'd be going off like how you're a bad influence on Chloe, and Chloe would be at this point, she's like, she's my girlfriend, like leave her alone. And then because David, I guess like he can be a bit of a tool in the beginning, but I still kind of like him in a way, you know, like I really liked how he was portrayed in Life is Strange 2, which is probably the best part of that entire series. I mean, I'm not putting shit on Sean and Daniel, but I gotta say, one of the reasons I didn't like the game was because they were constantly moving around, meeting new people. I mean, don't get me wrong, Life is Strange 2 does have its fair share of good moments, but it really fell flat because the relationships with the people didn't feel long-lasting. Whereas in Life is Strange 1, even very minor characters, like Daniel, for example, the guy that draws the pictures, that relationship's more, you know, more impactful than some of them in the game. At least, that's how I see it. But anyway, moving back on to the original topic. Actually, before I do, I just want to say this real quick. If any of you are getting confused about who Daniel is, he's the guy that you can meet in Life is Strange 1. This is after you talk to Principal Wells and you leave the Blackwell classrooms and that. You can find Daniel, and he's on a log, and he just draws stuff, and he asks Max if he can sketch her, and Max can let him do that. He's also the guy, if you want to go back to the beginning of this video, you can see him being pushed into the lockers, you know, just being bullied. So anyways, now getting back on topic. So because David stumbled across Max smoking a joint, at this point he'd be he'd be like, Chloe, I forbid you from seeing Max, and he'd go to Max, if you continue to see Chloe, then I'll make sure that your Blackwell record isn't like so spotless and that, you know what I mean? He basically threaten her, because that's what he does when he does with threats. Like when he goes to Max, if you choose to say the joint's yours, he'll be like, Max, I don't ever want to see you in my home again. And then he even threatened, like in episode 3, this is when David comes home. You can see him kind of raise his hand to Chloe when he's like, I'm not in the mood, Chloe, and Chloe's like, you call me a failure for getting kicked out of school. It's like, who's the failure now? If any of you remember that scene, that's where you can choose to side with David or side with Joyce. Anyways, at this point, like, you know, Chloe wouldn't have that because she's not going to listen to him, and Max, because she's more braver in this scenario, she'd stand up to David too. And I imagine the two of them Chloe just storming out with Max, leaving the house, and then they'd go to the lighthouse, and the two would be talking there. Now, I assume here, rather than sitting on the bench, the two would break into the lighthouse, like the door bit, and they would go up to, you know, that little, you know, in the lighthouse where it's got the stairs inside, you can go up to the balcony, and they'd be up there just overlooking the bay, and they'd be talking with one another, just about the day, what they're doing, maybe things get romantic and they kiss a bit, and then Max will get her vision of the tornado. And so then this is where Life is Strange 1 would have ended. You know what I mean? So it would play out similar to how episode 1 did of the game, but this version plays out differently. Alright, so I'm just going to end this video here, and I'm going to work a bit on episode 2, how I think things would have played out. Let me know if you agree with me or not in the comments below, and what do you think would have changed about the game if Max and Chloe had met earlier? Well, more specifically, what do you think about episode 1 would have changed? This is TotalGamerJunkie, signing off.